Have you ever stood in front of the mirror and wondered if you were ever going to feel like enough? Not in the eyes of the world. Not to please anyone else. But just to yourself. Enough to start. Enough to keep going. Enough to become who you were meant to be. Maybe you've set goals before, real goals. You mapped them out with all the excitement and clarity in the world. You told yourself, this time, I'll follow through. This time, it's different. And for a moment, it was. Until the old patterns returned. That voice. That hesitation. That subtle but familiar doubt creeping in, whispering. Who do you think you are? You've tried this before. Let's be honest, you never stick with it. And just like that, the spark you held so tightly slipped from your hands. But what if I told you this wasn't failure? What if I told you it's not because you're weak, or broken, or incapable? What if I told you this is exactly where the path to transformation begins? Because the truth is, every meaningful change starts with a fight. And not the kind you can see. It's the invisible battle between the future you dream of and the identity you currently believe. And in that battle, the greatest weapon isn't talent. It isn't motivation. It's faith. Napoleon Hill once wrote, "Faith is the head chemist of the mind." When faith is blended with thought, the subconscious instantly picks up the vibration and translates it into its spiritual equivalent. In other words, faith is not just something you have. It's something you generate. It's a force. A frequency. A silent but powerful chemistry that turns thought into reality. But here's what no one tells you. Faith doesn't begin big. It starts tiny. In moments so small, they're easy to overlook. Like waking up when you said you would. Like taking that first step when no one is watching. Like keeping a promise to yourself, even when no one else would know if you didn't. These little acts aren't just tasks. They are signals. Messages you send to the deepest parts of your mind, saying, I trust myself. I believe in the possibility of who I could become. And with every signal, faith grows stronger. But if you're like most people, you've been waiting. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting for confidence to show up. Waiting for the fear to go away. Here's the truth, it won't. Not at first. Because faith doesn't follow emotion, emotion follows faith. So you have to go first. You have to show up on the days when nothing feels certain. You have to act before you believe, so that belief has something to grow from. That's how all confidence is born. Not from perfection, but from the quiet courage to begin, especially when the voice in your head says, you can't. You've probably heard that voice before. Maybe it sounded like shame, or fear, or that old memory of failing last time. But that voice? It's not truth. It's just an echo. And every time you choose action over hesitation, you turn down its volume. You begin building a new voice. One that says, I've done hard things before. I can do small things consistently. I don't have to feel confident, I just have to be committed. Because faith is not about never doubting. It's about choosing to keep moving, even when you do. You build it by being the kind of person who does what they say they will do. Not once, but day after day. That's where real belief lives. Not in grand declarations, but in daily proof. Every time you show up for yourself, even in the smallest of ways, you're rewriting your identity. You're becoming someone who trusts their own effort more than their excuses. And that shift? That's everything. Because once faith takes root, it becomes momentum. And once you have momentum, the impossible starts to look inevitable. But let's be honest, this path isn't glamorous. Faith often looks like this. Sitting in silence for 5 minutes when your mind wants to scroll. Writing a paragraph when your inner critic screams it's not good enough. Choosing a walk instead of giving into the comfort of the couch. Whispering, "I'll try again," even after you've stumbled for the 5th time this week. It's not always inspiring, but it's transformational. Because you're not just changing your habits. You're changing what you believe about who you are. Napoleon Hill said, "Faith is a state of mind which may be induced by autosuggestion." In plain words, you can train your mind to believe. You can plant the seeds of belief by what you repeat out loud, in writing, in action. Say it often enough, back it with action, and one day, your subconscious won't question it anymore. It will accept it as truth. And from that truth, everything else becomes possible. So here's a question. What if you stopped waiting for belief and started becoming someone worth believing in? You don't have to be ready. You just have to be willing. Willing to act on faith. Willing to build trust with yourself again. Willing to believe, even 10% more than yesterday. Because that small shift, it creates a ripple. And ripples become waves. And waves can move mountains. So take one step. Not because you're sure, but because you're done letting doubt make your decisions. And tomorrow, take another. Eventually, the hesitation that once held you hostage will bow to the confidence you've built, day by day, silently, persistently. You'll stop needing proof before action. Because you'll become the proof. You'll stop chasing permission. Because you'll realize it was never theirs to give. And that dream? That version of you you've seen in flashes, and quiet moments, and midnight reflections? It's not just possible. It's waiting. For you to meet it, not in one perfect leap, but in the steady rhythm of faith-fueled steps. So if you've read this far, take it as your sign. To begin again. To speak kinder. To trust deeper. To move forward, even if you still hear the voice of fear. Because now, you know something that most people don't. Faith doesn't come to the most talented. It doesn't favor the loudest. It flows to those who keep walking, even when their legs shake. That is who you are becoming. And that is how everything changes. So now, the choice is yours. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now. If something inside you stirred while listening, if a quiet voice whispered, "This is what I needed," then honor it. Not with promises, but with presence. Subscribe to this channel. Not just to follow, but to stay connected to the mindset you're building. To remind yourself, day by day, that you're not alone on this journey. That there is a voice in the dark that believes in you, until yours becomes louder.